Good morning. We are playing around with the strap today. I'm using an 8-foot strap. We're going to buckle it quite a bit, so make sure that whenever you're using, you can make a tie. You can use, the typical shorter strap and then just bring two of them together. You can also use a smaller strap if you've got nothing else around. I just want you to enjoy the practice, but the practice is designed for this 8-footer, and you'll see why in just a moment. Okay. So to begin, we're going to take the strap and put it in a loop and make it a big, long loop. We're going to come onto our backs and we're going to take the strap initially around the bottom of the foot. Okay. Now, some people like to have the strap by the heel. Some people like it by the forefoot. Both have very good reasonings as to why. I don't really mind each. It's just whatever you prefer, okay? Whatever works for you. Then the other side of the strap is going to come in your hands. And so you're holding, this is really important actually, so you're holding not with your hands, but you're holding here at your wrist. So you're not having to hold anything with your hands. Okay, so one's at your foot, one's at your hands. And you can, with the other foot, you can bend this knee, or you can straighten it. It's totally up to you. Okay, I'm going to start mine with it bent, and I'm going to take my arms up overhead, and I'm going to bring my leg back down. Okay? Let me just get myself better set up here. I'm going to bring my arms up overhead, and then I'm going to bring the leg down. Okay, now, how I want you to think about this is that you're going to be taking, your arms are going to pull your leg up. And then your leg is going to pull your arms down. The arms are going to pull your leg up, and the leg is going to pull your arms down. Now feel that for the position that you're in. I'm going to straighten my other leg out now. And you can just feel the distinction between a bent leg on the other side versus a straight leg. Yeah. And the whole time, your pelvis is being steady. So your pelvis isn't rocking up off the floor. I want you to pay attention to your leg bone movement in the pelvis. That's your primary articulating joint here. The knees and the foot are going along for the ride. And then the other one is the shoulder joint, that glenohumeral joint, and the elbows and the wrists are going along for the ride. Okay? Okay, good. Now you're going to take the strap. You're going to bring it into the opposite hand. So I've got my left leg up. I'm taking the strap into my right hand. I'm bringing the leg across my body, but my pelvis is still staying on the ground. It's not coming off the ground. The leg comes across the body, pelvis stays on the ground. And then I'm going to take the leg back up, and I'm going to take the leg away. I'm taking it to my left. Pelvis stays steady on the ground. Bring it across and take it away. Bring it across and take it away. Nice. So while you're doing this, there ought not to be anything in your back, anything growing in your SI or sacrum. Just let your both legs come down now and notice what you feel, left and right. So if there's anything popping up in that spine or in the QL or sacrum, then you just know you've gone a little bit too far. So what you might want to do instead is keep the leg that's not in doing the movement, keep it bent or put a bolster under it. Might want to try that. Okay, let's go to the other side. And leg comes up, hands come in, and let's bring that leg down. And then use the arms to bring the leg up. Now be easy with the movement. Even though I'm saying use one set of limbs to move the other, it's not like I'm heaving with the arms to pull the leg up or like jamming my leg back down. It's more of an intention than anything. It's allowing to develop some harmony between your hips and your shoulders and to really just pay attention. I was working with a client last week and she was amazed at her hip and shoulder connection because she never really thought about it before. Right? When we have stuff going on in a joint, say the hips or the knees, we rarely think further up the chain or further down the chain. Maybe with the knees we do, but a lot of people don't. And yet it's such a key piece to really getting better, relieving those symptoms and retraining your patterns. Okay, let's take that strap into the opposite. So I've got my right leg up, so I'm using my left hand, and the leg comes across. Now watch that as the leg starts to move in this abduction-adduction range, that the knee doesn't all of a sudden start to bend in order to enable the movement. The movement happens through the hip, leg bone in the hip socket. Pelvis is still and quiet. Really let your breathing be easy. Now, one thing I do want to add with this that I didn't mention is that you might not have a whole lot of range through the hip, so you might be bending the knee just to enable yourself doing the movement. That's quite okay. The key to remember is that you don't want to bend the knee any more than you have to. So however bent the knee is when you start doing the movement of the hip, that's the same amount of bend that I'd like you to have, okay? Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take the ankle onto the opposite knee, right? This is a familiar one if you've done some stuff with me. The pelvis was quiet as we did the movement. And now I just want you to take that strap around the leg here. So it's going to provide just a little bit of resistance. And you're going to push your leg into the strap. It's going to rotate at the hip socket, but we're gently putting some resistance with that strap. So your hip has to work just ever so slightly harder, right? But the front of the hip is easy and strong. Yeah. All the work is happening on the way out. Okay, good. Bring that off. Okay, now bring this up. Now what's so important here, I can't emphasize this, and we don't emphasize it enough in our practice, is this leg bone, that's the mover. See how my pelvis isn't moving here? I'm focusing on that leg bone motion in the hip socket. So if you're doing this and you're finding that your pelvis is moving all over the place, grab a ball, roll at your hip, help get some suppleness through that hip area, become aware of what's actually really going on there in terms of the limitation or the tightness. Yeah? Move that leg bone in the hip socket. I was talking with another client. We were talking about fascia. There's a lot of talk about fascia these days. Has been for a little while. Fascia is pretty awesome and pretty beautiful. She was asking me about, practices around fascia. And what I really want to help people get is that it's not like muscles stay young and youthful and fascia doesn't, or that fascia stays young and youthful and muscles don't. They're all part of us. So it's not so easy to separate these things out because even though there's different chemical constituents, fascia is a round muscle, right? They're very interweaved. Okay, rolling over, coming up. So when you're practicing really mindfully and with awareness, and I'm going to sit up on some blocks, when you're practicing with mindfulness and awareness, when you're being aware of your movement pattern, when you're not forcing yourself into things, you're going to be a lot more generous with your fascia. And when you're generous with your fascia, guess what? Your fascia is generous with you. Okay, bring your arms overhead. Let's take this around in a circle. The movement here are arm bones in the shoulder socket. Relaxing your jaw as you do the movement. Watch that your ribs aren't the one that's doing it, that it really is through your shoulder joint. Again, if you need to have your elbows bent, then have them bent, but don't kind of move the elbows, make it an elbow movement. keep the awareness around your shoulder joint, yeah? Keep it around there. But if you're unable to bring your arms overhead, then you don't have to straighten your elbows and compensate on the way to do that. Okay, arms come up now. You're going to angle your arms. There we go. So what I'm doing here is with this back arm, which is my right arm, I'm pulling so my left arm follows. But again, you'll see that I'm not like arching my back here. I'm just moving like this. Yeah, okay, and then other side. Okay, now from here, let's take a break actually. Okay, bring the arms back up. Okay, now you're going to slowly bring the arms in behind your head. Now, you have to be very careful. That sounds really bad, hey? Got to be careful. But I want you to be conscientious that you're not going too far, right? So if you're coming down about your head here and you have to stick your head forward, we don't want that. Yeah. So just come down as far as you can. And it might be here, or it might be here. But you don't want to have to bump that head forward. That will not be good. Okay, good. And then let it go. Okay, now I want you to take your strap again. You're going to still be looped, and you're going to bring it around your rib cage. So now it's resting around the rib cage, and I can feel it as feedback around my ribs. Yeah. We're going to take a twist. And I want you to use this as a measure for, is your rib cage actually initiating that rotation via the obliques, which are the engine of the twist? See, lots of people, when they're limited through the rib cage, they want to do this with their head, right? Or they want to move their pelvis, which both is fine. It just either of those might not give you what you want. So if you're not gaining in your rotation, if you're still having strain and pain and tension, then you might want to consider another way. Okay, lovely. Now let's take that strap. You're going to tie it. Okay, I'm actually going to grab my green one here because this black strap is... Okay, so you're here and you're just going to loop it up, right? So you can just easily see myself right here. So it's around my ribs. So again, it's acting as feedback. Okay. And I want you just to let the strap feel your ribs, let the ribs feel your strap. Rest your hands down into your lap. Feel where you're breathing. And then without increasing the volume of your breath, let the ribs move wide. So bring the breath to the sides of your ribs. You're not increasing the volume of your breath. You're just moving the ribs wide. Yeah? Ribs moving wide. And then I want you to move the ribs backward, so posteriorly. And again, we're not increasing the volume of the breath. You're just moving the breath from wherever it was normally sitting and moving it back into the back of the ribs. Letting the strap be your feedback mechanism. Okay, now take the strap off. Now, just sit here and breathe. And notice what you now feel. Now, I want to emphasize something. In any of these practices, in any practice, not even these ones, but any practice that you do out there, if you're feeling strain or pain after the practice and you didn't feel it during, you most likely missed something under your level of awareness. Of course you missed it, right? Because it was under your level of awareness. So your job is to become a little more aware of your movement. So whether that is working with somebody or like watching yourself on the video or working with me privately or in Susi's resource library or another teacher who can have their eyes on you, or maybe your partner or maybe a friend or another yoga colleague, to help you see and feel what's working and what's not working. Yeah? It might feel frustrating, but it's a really powerful practice to pay attention. You've got the power. You just need to find a way to unlock it. So back to your breath and back to your body. Noticing what you're feeling. And notice too that as you continue to feel you continue to feel the very, very, very best version of yourself. And that is awesome. So bring your hands together and breathe in with ease and out with gratitude. That was 7 ways with a strap, plus a bonus one in there. And I'm sure if you broke those down in a number of different ways, or probably a little bit more than that, enjoy them. I hope they gave you some good ideas for you to explore and to make this practice fun and enticing. We'll see you tomorrow. Take good care. Bye-bye.